Player agents are dropping hints that the Angels have decided they're going to take trade offers in the next 2 weeks for Shohei Ohtani. And it begs the question, is the era of Showtime in Anaheim about to be shut down? Is he about to be traded? I went back and did some digging. The agents that I know are dropping hints that there are offers now being made and that Perry Manassian, the Angels general manager, is listening to trade offers. The question I have, and the Angels won't answer the question, did they try to get Ohtani to sign a contract extension in the last month? Last I checked, I was the one that volunteered the idea. Find out where he is. If he signs, great. If he rejects your offer, then you get to the trade deadline and maybe you make a deal. Did they attempt to sign him? Did they reject it? Or did they have no interest in talking to him? Or did he have no interest in talking to them? It's a complex issue. History. Scoreboard does not lie. Ohtani's been there in his 6th year. 6 losing seasons. Never been in a playoff game with the Halos. However, his statistics are phenomenal. In the last 3 years, John, his batting average as a two-way player is .274, 112 home runs, second most home runs to Aaron Judge in the last 3 years of Major League Baseball. Wow. And his ERA coming off the elbow surgery, 2.86. How good is that? In 3 years, phenomenal statistics. In 6 years, wearing that uniform, his team, the Angels, have a record of .373, 426, 53 games below 500. Like I said, never been to a playoff. And it's not on him. It's bad luck. It's bad investments. Mike Trout, Anthony Rendon, between them, have had 5 different significant injuries in the last 3 years while Ohtani was being the star on the franchise. So the burning question, if they're taking trade offers, and one agent I emailed with said, yeah, I think they are, how do you do this deal? Left hand says, nobody's going to give you the farm because he's going to walk at the end of the season. Why would I trade my farm system and all my players away? The other hand says, you know, the select group of teams he might accept an offer to. Give those teams permission, John, to talk to Ohtani's agent right now about an extension. Nobody's going to pay the farm for a guy that's going to walk November 1st. So do the Angels do that? That becomes a big question. Here's the issue. You got the Dodgers and you got the Yankees and you got the big markets, and they're willing to pay a $400 or $500 million 10-year deal for possibly Ohtani as a pitcher, as a designated hitter, as a marketing superstar at the same time. How do you make that kind of deal work? Well, I go to the Dodgers, who have a great history with players from the Pacific Rim. I tell the Dodgers, you have a 2-week window to July 31st. We will grant you permission to negotiate the terms of an extension that he would accept. And if that's the case, these are the players I want. And if I'm the Angels, if I'm Arte Moreno, if I'm Perry Manassian, the general manager, I turn around and I tell the Dodgers, I want Bobby Miller. I want Ev Sheehan. I want Mike Bush. I want Miguel Vargas. And maybe a couple of other lower-level prospects. You're getting a superstar. I'm getting 6 players, at least the first 4 that I mentioned, put my uniform on and play at Angel Stadium right now. And the Yankees have that same plethora of great young talent stockpiled at Syracuse and Wilkes-Barre and further on down the farm system. I think that's how you get the deal done. Now, what's the community's reaction if they have to move him on July 31st, hours before the trade deadline? Do they condemn Moreno? We don't know whether Moreno is willing, or he is willing to pay $500 million on maybe a 10-year extension. Or do they condemn Ohtani, that he was here, he refused to negotiate? Do they condemn the agents, CAA, the most reputable big star marketing firm representing athletes and entertainers? Or they just say, thank you. He came here at a low budget price. He starred here. The failure is not on him. It's obviously on the Angel organization. It's a tough story, but if the agents are correct that they're now The Angels have messaged teams, we will take offers. I think it's probably the end of the era. And part of me would say, Angels tried hard, but part of me said Moreno pissed away so much money on bad players, from the Josh Hamilton drug infestation to the attitude and angst with Justin Upton and all that, and the tragedy with the drug dealing. Moreno should probably sell the team, because I don't think the community is going to forgive Arte if this guy leaves. Okay, so I put a lot on your table. Give me your reaction. Ohtani, how do you trade him? What do you want back? Do you let other clubs make a deal? Or do you go to the finish line on the 31st? Or do you just wait till November 1st with the hope he likes Anaheim and he changes his mind? Go ahead, your turn.
Well, they can't just pray and hope that he's going to sign after the season's over. But the Angels seem to have, it's like you say, it's a combination of bad luck, and they've painted themselves into a corner where their options are now limited. And I know these other teams are going to have a lot of leverage. But you said they would maybe open up negotiation with Ohtani's agents. Let's say the Yankees or the Dodgers have permission to talk to his agent. Would they negotiate a deal like as a prelude before a trade goes, so that it almost becomes this giant package deal where we're going to trade players for players and Ohtani is signing for $500 million?
That's the way I would perceive it if I were king. Now, I would also up front tell them, if you do this deal, these are the players I want.
Yeah.
It's not you're going to be allowed to do the deal, and then, by the way, let's sit and talk about the parameters of a trade. They go hand in hand. Now, maybe you scare the Dodgers away. If you're telling the Dodgers, I must have Bobby Miller, must have Everett Sheehan, I got to have Vargas, and I've got to have Bush, and I got to have two more from lower in the farm system. But at the same time, the Dodgers are getting us a legitimate big-time superstar, the greatest player probably in Major League Baseball that we see right now. Maybe we're never, ever going to see this again. So the Dodgers have to be willing to pay the exorbitant price to make this happen.
Well, let's say you're the Dodgers and you can't negotiate a deal. Maybe his agent says, we're going to free agency. You know, like it or not, we want to play the market and maximize value. So if you're the Dodgers, you're only guaranteed to have him for 2.5 months. So are you willing to give up a Bobby Miller or one of your top guys for a 2-month rental?
I'm going to say this, and it's going to really upset you. It's the Dodgers. Dodgers track record, World Series, division titles, legacy going all the way back to Ebbets Field. I know you don't want to hear that, being a Giant fan with black and orange in your bloodstream, but it's the Dodgers. So why would you not consider you'd be able to sales pitch him? And the Dodgers have such a successful history of players from Japan, from Korea, from Taiwan. I mean, to me, all the ingredients are there, and it is West Coast, and there's an unbelievable amount of Asian American fans, Los Angeles, Orange County, up and down the coast. So
what do you think? What do you think about Ohtani to the Giants, or maybe Ohtani to the Padres? I've heard rumors of Ohtani for Soto, straight up swap. What do you think of that?
Oh, I think that's people wishing and hoping. But does Ohtani want to be in San Diego? I mean, Dodger Stadium, a lot more marketing ventures. Yankee Stadium, unbelievable amount of heritage. Petco Park, Padre history? Nah, not so much. Is Peter Seidler going to be willing to take on that type of contract? Tough call. So at the end of the day, would you do what I would do if I were king? I would give those 2 or 3 marquee teams the 2-week window after having reached agreement on who you're giving up if you get him.
Yeah, I think if you're Arte Moreno, you have to maximize your return. And you could only get that if you give permission for those other franchises to negotiate. Because if you don't, if you just do a trade with no guarantee of what's going to happen at the end of the season, I mean, you'll be lucky to get a good 1 or 2 prospects, and certainly not a top tier prospect for a rental. So I think Artie's painted himself into a corner. That's probably his only move right now, unless he's had his own individual conversation with Shohei, and they've decided that, Shohei wants to play in Anaheim, and they've worked a deal together. If Arte can't do that, if that's impossible, then I think your solution makes a lot of sense.
How should Angel fans react? Hate the owner? Hate the player? Hate the system?
Well, there's a lot of bitterness, and frustration as an Angel fan. I know there's a lot of hate on Artie, but he's been cursed. And he went out and he signed Shohei Ohtani. He, signed Mike Trout to, what was it, $430 million. He's trying his best. He's just getting bit with bad luck. If you're an Angels fan, you'd be disappointed if Shohei Ohtani leaves. But I mean, what do you expect at this point in time? They have limited choices right now.
Amazing. Showtime era, Anaheim. Looks like it's about to be canceled. We'll see what happens in the next 2 weeks. John